So today we're doing a poolside yin. I've got a nice full body practice. The holds will not be as long as I would do in a studio class, just for the sake of ease of videotaping. So once I roll through it and I demonstrate it, you'll have all of the postures and you'll know the setup and modifications, and then you can really basically just do the holds at whatever time length you prefer. I might give recommendations, but hang in there 2 to 5 minutes for most of them. So I'm doing this outside by the pool, which means I have no control over lawn maintenance people or my puppies or various other things that come along. So bear with me. Here we go. So first posture is going to be child's pose. So coming in with your knees a little bit separated so your belly can come between, toes touch. You sink your hips back to your heels as much as will be allowed by your knees. Obviously, if the knees don't like that, we can keep the hips higher. You can prop between the calf and the thigh with a blanket. So instead of having it here, you could have it here, right? Bring it in, it gives a little lift and support. There's our position, right? So that's an option. I have a nice cushiony pad here, but if you don't have that, I would say definitely have a blanket to pad up your knees. And then for child's pose, just, settle in. Let your body come in, lengthen it out, extend. Just about, since this is a starting place, I'd say 2 minutes here in your first position. So letting the chest drop down, soften the arms, accommodate the shoulders, and just relax into a soft breath. The concept with yin is that we create a shape to a comfortable level. So we come into a shape to an appropriate edge. The second part is that we resolve to be still. And the third part is that we remain for a time. And so for this first child's pose, I'd say, like I said, about 2 minutes. Once you've spent about 2 minutes here, I would take it to a child's pose twist. So threading one arm underneath, either arm is fine. Left arm is what I'm doing first so that I can twist towards you. Letting the shoulder rest down, the head comes down, the other arm rests in here, could rest behind. If you're finding that the shoulder's not reaching down toward the ground, bring the ground toward the shoulder a bit with some blankets. So obviously when you're doing a home practice, get a blanket, get some pillows, get things that you can use as props. Obviously if you have bolsters and blocks, by all means use the real deal, but not necessary. So this is an opener. This particular twist is going to give some opening to the shoulder lines. And in the shoulders are where the heart and large and small intestine lines live. So by opening up our shoulders, we can really start to help maybe improve the immune function and the capacity for our lungs, which obviously right now is pertinent. It's always pertinent, but right now keeping our immune system strong is our best defense. So once you've done about 2 minutes on one arm, you would just unthread, pause, and thread the opposite arm, same thing. We get our other hand where it needs to be. Sometimes I like to just have my forehead straight down. And then threading in, getting some stretch here in the outer edge of the shoulder, into the rear delt. Getting some compression here in the front side. Just give it some time, settle in, find your breath. It's a kind of a stillness practice, which you can use the sensations in your body to be an anchor for your awareness. So anytime we use these practices, it's a form of meditation. We're stilling and kind of confining the travel of our mind, right? So instead of our mind thinking about yesterday or tomorrow or what's happening right now, we can focus on the sensations in the body. We can focus on the breath. We can just be in this space of now, just fully present, which is really the only place there is to be. So once you've spent a sufficient amount of time here, you can release, press out, palm out from there. I would come in and just take a little cat and cow bow a few times, maybe a little side to side. And literally, you could do this in real time. You don't have to do those super long holds. From here, I'm going to take it right into a dragon. So bringing one foot forward, the other foot back. Again, this is a place where you could use any kind of thing for a prop. You could bring in a chair, you could bring in a bolster. You may not need anything, but coming in here, we're looking to try to get this stretch here and also in the back leg. So in this leg that's behind, the left leg is going to be in the quadricep and the hip flexors. So this is a really low position. This is fine for me. It's not going to be accommodated by everybody. So some modifications would be to just stay up on the hands, and I'm still under here. We could bring in a chair, we could bring in blocks, anything here, just rest here. So for dragon, the safety element is to keep ankle and knee in line. In other words, don't let that knee travel way out here. Not necessarily going to be a good place for your knee. To adjust deeper, just slide the back leg back a bit. And then settling into the dragon here, I'm going to stick with it for a breath or two because I'll make this a bit of a practice. And like I said, you could do these in real time with me, or you could pause and hold, or just write down the sequence. Lots of ways to approach this this new way of doing yoga with me. So the yin for me has been a great complement to the more yang practices, or yang, however you want to say it. The power flows, running, biking, swimming, the things that our triathletes are doing, and anything that's more active, this is a good complement to. So great for athletes. Let's just pause for another breath or two here. And I'm just going to do a little change here where we're going to let that foot now roll onto the edge, and we're going to open it up. Hopefully this isn't like crazy, like keep my butt covered. There we go. So coming into the twisted dragon, letting the foot right to the edge and coming in, letting that roll open. Again, this doesn't have to be extreme. It can be just a little opening and rotation. Give you a little twist here. Twists tend to be cleansing for the system. So, and it's also good to move the spine in all directions. It changes the angle on the hip a bit. It's a stretch in the ankle. Bailey's right over here off screen being such a good girl. So proud of her. Okay, we're gonna come out. Oh, it's always that. I like to go back into like a little half split just as a counter, and then slide it out, and we'll change. The left leg will come forward. We'll slide the other leg back. So just switch legs, setting it up all the same pieces, right? And then I like to have something to support my elbows, shoulders are soft, so not like, ugh. Don't be all crunched up. Let the chest drop and soften. Let the belly soften. And then let that settle. You settle in, you come into your breath, and you just relax in. It's a beautiful morning here in Florida. Nice and comfortable temperature. There's a breeze. Birds are singing. In all the realm of this, I am grateful for this space that I call home, and for the people that I get to be quarantined with, my husband, my pups, now my son John, spending some time here with us too, so I'm grateful. So releasing out our hips here, the hip flexors, the glutes. Take yourself a couple more breaths here. Hey, babe. Bailey, can you move? Bailey. Hey, babe. Bailey boo. Bailey, keep going. Hi, I'm still here. And that would be Bailey. Okay, a couple more breaths here. She's kind of like a mama's girl. She spends 90% of her day 5 feet from me. So she's still right over here now. I just adore that little dog. I mean, I adore the other one too, but she's kind of my favorite. All right, twisted dragon. So the foot rolls open. You let it go to the outer edge. You can see it now, bottom of my foot. This arm could be on the forearm. You could still have the arm extended and just press in here. Find your own depth, your own edge, right? And it's 80% of your mat, so you try not to go to your full posture here. So just settle in, watch my neck and shoulders. Sometimes I move a little bit, and then just settle into that stillness. Bring your awareness to the breath and the sensations, and that will keep your mind anchored out of the madness. Let's all take a moment out of the madness, right? I feel like it's always harder to hold the second side as long. Probably because we tend to do the side we have more freedom in first, naturally. Okay, I'm calling it. Let's come on out and shift it. Take your little half split. Good. We're going to come right forward and send it back. Coming down into a Sphinx pose, just as like a little semi-rest between. So for Sphinx, we want to look at our shoulder line, our shoulders over elbows, coming in so that we have a nice 90 degree, and that the elbows are also just shoulder distance apart. So we don't want the elbows out where our chest drops. We want them in directly under the shoulders. Wiggle around a little bit, find a neutral neck, and then for Sphinx pose, just let your belly drop down. There's less effort in a yin. So in a yang class, watch the difference. I would press back, I would actively pull back on the forearms, just press back with the head. All that goes away with yin. We just let the bones support us. So just let everything settle in. Shoulders soft, gaze is soft. I close my eyes and let my head and neck come to neutral. So I'm not here, I'm not here. Right? I'm just somewhere in the middle. Always welcome if you do have a block to prop your forehead. And then just come into your breath again. You'll feel the breath pretty actively here in Sphinx pose because we're in a little stretch for the front body. Each time I breathe, I can feel the belly stretch. I can feel the stretch move down into my hips by way of the psoas, because the psoas muscle, which is a bilateral muscle deep in the core, attaches from just at thoracic rib 12 all the way down. It's all the way down the lumbar, so right below the rib cage on the lumbar spine, the psoas will attach. It has little fingers of attachment that go in at each of the vertebrae, and then it wraps down in through the pelvis and attaches on the lesser trochanter of the hip, which is the inner part of the hip. And I have Vicki Dortch to thank for helping me track that line of the psoas one day. So there it is. Just settle in and breathe. And then as a release from here, elbows just slide out and the hands stack, and we drop the forehead down. You could even turn your toes out and your heels in to come into crocodile pose. And then just finish here. I like to let the head and neck move and my hips move. I'm definitely feeling the power class I recorded with Nikki yesterday in my shoulders today. And so transitioning, hands under shoulders, bring it into table. We're going to do a sequence into pigeon. So the left leg will come forward into our pigeon prep, which is knee to the outer, it's going to track outside my hip. So it's going out to the left. My heel will line up more or less with my right hip to the right edge of your mat, left edge of your mat if you're on a traditional yoga mat. And then you're going to start to drop in. If you start to come in and the front knee hurts, the answer is the back leg bends. So it takes a lot of the downward pressure out of the knee. I don't have that issue. One place I don't hurt, knock wood, is knees. So let's keep that in mind. And then for pigeon, once you've squared up the hips, squared everything up, you can just settle in, dropping in, letting the chest drop down. And if you are feeling like you need a little support, you can prop underneath the hip. You can prop underneath the belly. Like that. So I've been talking about this week how this time has changed us. You know, I think for all of us, it's given us a forced pause, right? We always talk about taking a conscious pause, whether that be a minute or a day or a week. We've all had this kind of enforced pause to ponder. So hopefully there's lots of pondering going on and lots of self-study, svadhyaya, that idea of looking at how we're living and what we're doing, and maybe this is giving us an opportunity to really reflect and make some big changes as we move forward out of this time. I think no matter what, we will all be transformed. If nothing else, we'll just all go forward with so much more awareness of the many blessings that we have. So many blessings. Just those little things like being able to hug somebody, right? I hope we can go back to hugging again and not have it be fearful. I'm going to walk it back, coming up out of our forward position. The back leg will slide in. I'm going to rotate myself to face you. The back leg's coming in, and it's going to go all the way around into a Gomukhasana. Okay, so this is asking a lot of hips. Okay, so this is cutting off my head, so I'm going to just push it back a ways. See if that makes it better. You know what else I can do? I'm going to do this. I can tip this just a bit. So you still see. Hey, there I am. So Gomukhasana. We've got the right leg on top. Not everybody has this arranged in their hips. Not a big deal. What you can do is take the bottom leg and just straighten it out. That's an option, right? And that will make it more accessible. And if you can't maybe get this, you might even take a blanket and set it underneath. So for some of us, just by lifting up the hips, we might be able then to wrap in and get this alignment. So you can use the blanket propped underneath your bum. If you have a pillow or whatever, as long as it's your pillow under your bum. All right, that's my ha-ha for the moment. So from here, there's several places I want to take you. First is going to be to a cow face twist. So with the top knee, right, here's my top knee is the right leg. I'm going to turn towards that leg and just let my forearm rest and then pull around with the back hand. Trying to keep long here, right, to come into this twist. And we'll spend like a minute here. Just twist and breathe. I like to get a little movement, even though I know this is a stillness practice, letting the head look over one shoulder, over the other. It's okay to move a little. They call it pendiculation, moving in random ways to just stretch out. This is a great posture for that. Chin to chest, ear to shoulder. And we'll release from that. From the twist, we're going to go right into a side bend. So since the top leg is tracking to the left, we're going to bend left. So left hand down, right hand supports the head, right? So we really want to keep the lifting of the heart space. That can happen just by pressing the head into the hand. And then the hand that's planted, I just bend the elbow. And I use that hand to shift the ribs a little to the right and then roll the top shoulder back. And this is another place where you absolutely, sometimes I just don't have the range here, so I just get something to prop on, and I can go here. Some people like to prop with the hand holding the head. I like this one, where I can just kind of roll in, the top shoulder's opening. So you see, one side is getting compressed in this pose, and one side is getting open. And those are the ways that yin works. It either compresses, it stretches, or it twists the tissues, the connective tissues, all of the tissues in the body. And basically that whole fascial system, which now is considered a whole system of its own in the body, is believed to carry electrical impulses, and now theorize that that's really where the nadis in traditional Indian medicine run, or the acupuncture channels in traditional Chinese medicine run. So we're basically doing kind of this energy movement whenever we're doing yoga, but especially in yin, driving prana, moving this energy through the body. All right, we're going to come out of the side bend by pressing with the hand that's on the earth, coming back to neutral, and then just a little forward bend here. We'll do the other side bend on the other side. So there's so much for us to be grateful for right now. Right now I'm grateful for a beautiful day and for your presence in my life, even though it's going to be virtual for a time. I trust that when this is all over, we'll all be back at One Yoga, sharing these practices in each other's presence, and realizing how powerful that is compared to this medium. It's what I've always said, there's just nothing like being in a room together practicing. And besides that, right now I could not possibly come along and be your yoga concierge and bring you props and, you know, give you some modifications. So I hope you're doing that for yourself right now. Let's press it out. Come on up. And this is going to feel so good. Lean it out. Undo the legs. And just let your legs release. Maybe massage them down. Give them a little squeeze. You could roll your feet out. God, my feet look huge. Okay, we're going to switch sides. The right leg forward for pigeon. So right side pulls in. Left leg goes long. Remember, you can bend the back knee to accommodate front knee. We'll shift around until we get that alignment where we pretty much get the hips square and we can get the back leg nice and straight. And then with or without a prop, you can come in and rest in. I like it without because it lets me get a little flatter into this. And you just hang out and breathe and relax. Let your hips open. If it's true that we hold anger in our hips, I think it's a pretty good thing that we're letting our hips release a bit. I'm sure there's an element of anger for all of us that we're in this situation right now. Anger, frustration, agitation, short-tempered, those are all things I've experienced in the last week. It's just, you know, we get to practice our yoga here. We get to practice what is the base. One of the pillars of our yoga practice is equanimity. Our willingness to be with whatever is without pain or aversion. Right? So can I be in this time of great uncertainty, of lack of control, and not be so reactive to it. It's been a good test for me of my yoga skills. And so when I start to move into like worry, oh my gosh, you know, when are we going to get to open again? You know, can I make the rent for how many months? You know, I can let myself get all caught up in the math of it and trying to project, and then I just finally stop all the thought. I catch myself and I go, you know what? One day at a time. What can I do today? I can make a yin video by the pool. This month I can pay the rent. I'm grateful for that. And we just take it one day at a time, one breath at a time. All right, so let's make the transition from our pigeon. Come on up. The back leg will swing all the way around and I'll rotate towards you. And we set up that Gomukhasana. And you'll see when I set up Gomukhasana, I lift my whole body up and set it back down to try to get both sit bones down. If you can't establish a level of level here, then you probably need to just undo the bottom leg. So we did the twist first. So from here, we're going to twist toward the left, right hand onto that left leg. Left leg's on top now, twisting the opposite way. And just begin to get into your breath. Feel a nice stretch in the piriformis on the left hip right now. That little nasty, pesky muscle can really cause some aggravation for people with sciatic. The sciatic nerve runs right behind the piriformis, right in, sometimes through the piriformis for the unfortunate few. So if that muscle is tight or inflamed, it can cause some undue and uncomfortable pressure on the sciatic nerve. It also attaches from the sacrum into our hip, which is, another thing it can cause is some sacroiliac dysfunction, where we have the sacrum and the ilium should match up perfectly, but if they don't, they shift, and that too can cause some discomfort. All right, so from the twist, we went into the side bend. This time, we track the top leg. That's how I remember. I just track the top leg and go toward that foot. That's the side bend this side. So the left hand goes behind, the right hand down. We keep the shoulders stacking as best we can, and then just sink in. Left elbow up and back. And we hang out and we breathe. Keeping that hip from popping up. Keep it pressing down. And then just breathe. I wish you could see Bailey. She's just over here right off the camera line watching me. Just all peaceful, sweet. She loves to swim, so we have to have a gate. I think you can kind of see the corner of the gate. We gate the steps, and she won't jump off the edges. So if she can't get to the steps, she won't go swimming. Otherwise, she would be in the pool all the time, and it takes her forever to dry. So we only let her swim, when we want her to swim. And that was my little speech to make this pose go faster. Press off and fold in. So we take a yin pose in a yin way. I've come to take a lot of things in a yin way, which is yielding in, allowing for gravity to pull us in without pulling ourselves in, right? We just surrender into the pull of gravity, and we stop with the striving, pulling, reaching, and soften. It's a yielding, right? Just yield in. You can see that I'm not putting effort here. I'm just letting my body weight drop in. And it's the way to be in a yin practice. And notice if there's somewhere you're gripping, tense. Bring your awareness there and soften. All right, let's come on out and just lift up the chest. Ooh, that feels so good. We're going to release it out and just shake out the legs a little bit. So I have in here, at this point, dragonfly, and I'm totally not doing dragonfly with my legs wide to the camera, so you're going to get a side view of dragonfly, especially with shorts on. So just bringing the legs wide. This is another one that if your shape is here, that's your cue. Put a blanket underneath your sit bones, right? So from here, if your pelvis has an anterior tilt, which can be caused by tight hamstrings, tight psoas, runners and sitters tend to have that, right? Runners and sitters. So here's your alignment. Now it helps even me to spill forward. And then for dragonfly or wide leg fold, legs are wide, we sink in. You could bring in something here to rest on. This is a place if you're really tight, a chair even, a chair seat, blocks, blanket, nothing. Whatever works for you, settle in. I'll take a little time here to let the legs extend now. Most of the yin meridians, the traditional Chinese medicine meridians, run through the legs. The only ones that are upper body, specifically upper body or confined to upper body, are heart, lungs, small, large intestine, and triple burner. So down here we have stomach and spleen and liver and gallbladder. And stomach, spleen, liver, gallbladder. I've got wood. I've got water. Kidney. Urinary bladder. So those are all going to be affected here. All of those lines, the energies associated with them, but also the organs that I've just rattled off are all going to be affected by these postures. Yin is a great way to help realign postural misalignments. So if we tend to have curling here, or we've got the tipping of the pelvis, all of this works in our favor. For a few seconds. Let you just sit with it. Go back to your breath and the sensations in the body. Take 3 more breaths here. Slow breaths. Low, slow, and subtle. Should be breathing through your nose with the mouth sealed all the time, as much of the time as you can think about it. Eventually it should become your habit. We'll start to walk it back. Bring your hands under the knees to help them together. Coming down on our backs, we're going to do a supported bridge and then psoas releases, and that will wrap up our practice. So all you really need to do a supported bridge would be to take any blanket at home and just wrap it up, or a pillow or whatever, just to get the hips a little elevated in your bridge. The more folds you make, the higher they're going to be. So let me show you how this works. You always want to come into a supported bridge from your back, lift the hips, slide your prop under. So rather than trying to fall back over, what we're after in a supported bridge pose is that we elevate the pelvis so that we open up through the shoulders, right? I've got it right underneath my sacrum. It's not here under the low back. You want it right from the tailbone up. And then once you're there, you're going to just let that support for a moment. Sun's out. Feels actually good right now. So to go to psoas release here, from this lifted pelvis, the right leg, right arm extend. And what it does is creates a stretch here in the front side of the body, deep in. Just stay with this and breathe. And then we'll bring the right leg, right arm in, switch, left leg, left arm, go long. Notice I'm getting some breath here. And then we'll bring both of those in. Just rest here. And just for a few breaths, both arms, both legs go out. Soften through the shoulders. I play with the angle of my feet. I try to bring my feet toes up and just get that upper leg bone nice and straight into the hip socket. And we'll walk those feet in, back to our supported bridge. And then I love to take it from a supported bridge just to a quick legs up the wall. So just letting the feet move up towards the sky. And then slowly the knees drop into the chest and the feet return back down to the ground. Lift up the hips, remove whatever it is you found to lift and support your bridge, and then let the body come back to neutral. Call it a passive rest position. We'll bring the feet wide and windshield wiper the knees side to side a few times. And bring the knees into the chest. Take a happy baby. From happy baby, toes to touch, reclining butterfly. Extend the legs out, palms up, arms out to the sides, relaxing through the shoulders, the neck, the head, the belly, crown of the head to the tip of the toes. Just scan it, let go of any tension, and just stay here for a minute or two and let that yin practice settle into the bones. But more importantly, let it settle into your soul and hopefully bring you an element of calm abiding, of peaceful presence, of mental clarity, and all the things that our yoga gifts us. I'm going to take it from here, reach my arms and legs long, walk it in, shift to a side, and come up to a comfortable seat. So, thank you for joining me for this Poolside Yin practice. I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. I look forward to being able to be in the studio with everyone again. But you know what? This too shall pass, right? So trust the unfolding, and let's stay connected here virtually. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste. Namaste. Here's the pool area just as an extra. Right? This is my little sanctuary, and there's the gate that prevents Riley from swimming, and Bailey. Alrighty. Stay well. Stay home. Keep your hands clean.